Going to remove the door panel here to get access to remove the window regulator from my Volkswagen Passat. The two tools that you'll need at the start, well, first of all you need a flathead screwdriver to lift up and remove this part of the handle, and then also you're going to need a T20 for 2 bolts underneath here. And then once this is removed here, you'll have 3 bolts which require a T27 torque bit. So once you've slipped the slot headed screwdriver and lifted this up, it will give you access to 2 connectors. These need to be removed. You do that by pressing in the yellow button, and you'll see another one there. Just press those in and release the cable. So in here, here, and also here, you'll have 3 bolts, and they are T27. All 3 of those need to be removed. You then come on to the 2 screws at the bottom of the door, and these are T20. One there and one there. Once these have been removed, you should be able to slide a knife or something just to give you a little bit of to pry the door card out. Now you can see here that these are little retaining clips that would usually go into that area there. This is what you're trying to break away from. There will obviously be some casualties on the way while doing this, but basically you can see exactly where they are. There's another one there. So once you have that pulled away, you'll be able to lift up somehow with one hand. You'll be able to lift the door cart up out of this little lip at the edge here, and you will see that there is a little hook going into the handle. And the way to get that out is to pull that back and take that out of the hook. Next thing to do while holding this, I can get this little connector here with the pink. Needs to be removed. There's a little grey tab underneath it, which needs to be pressed in. I'll need to pause the video to take that off. Next thing to do is to pull out these 2 connectors out of the window regulator. And then following that, you can then remove these by pressing down the black clip and pulling those out of the way. The 3 screws here need to be removed using a T30 torque bit. And this should just lift away. I'll have to pause that. The next thing to do is to prepare and remove the wiring harness. So we'll do that. So what you do is you actually get a screwdriver in behind, and there is actually two little flats. If you push one of them in, it'll actually allow the other bit to come apart. It's obviously a lot harder with one hand. If you peel it back, you can actually see. So you can see there, it's actually on the left hand side there that I need to be pushing in. So I'll do that and pause the video. So you can see this has all been loosened off right up to the stage of the grommet that goes through. So the next thing to do is this little lead is still connected to this connector here. So you can see on the back of that there is a little tab, and that allows that to be removed. Now I have to pause the video to do that again. So it's easy enough to get this connector right here, but it's attached to the door, this panel here, the regulator panel, and that needs to come off and be pushed through when removing this. So the next thing you want to do is, you can see I've removed that connector there, so everything is pretty much free. Is you want to remove this and this. The idea behind that is that you should be able to pull the window down until you see this little, and have access to that screw. Now it's a star, it's an E5, it's a special tool that you don't normally get in kits. But you can see once you've got those holes lined up, that's you ready to loosen the window from the regulator. So the way you want to carry this out, this is the bit that would be being used, and you slide that in, and you're going to go the opposite way to loosen this. So you're actually going to go clockwise. As you can see, it's just got really loose there, and then the same again on this side, so it's clockwise to loosen. So I'm just going to illustrate to you here that this window is now free and is actually still running along the guides. So I think at this stage what I'm going to do is push the window right to the top and then use duct tape to wrap it round in two areas to secure it in place, to hold it there, just while I remove the actual regulator. So you can see I've pushed the window right to the top and then put duct tape around both sides to hold it in position. I chose to do 3 because I didn't want the thing falling down and smashing. So the next stage is to use a T30 to remove this. All of these screws round the edge here. You'll see that I've actually removed the speaker. My speaker didn't work on this side, and looking at the state of it, there was plenty of rust on it. It's a T30 screw or T30 torch drive required to remove these. Make sure you don't lose any. The other thing is to push these little plastic things through, 3 of them. That's actually part of a plastic clip that goes around the central door, or central locking for the door. Now you can see the panel has pretty much come away. Now there's 2 things to look out for. There's a little stud here, which is a locator for the door. So the next thing to do is to push through these little cables. This is the door handle cable. The next one is this one here. Just pull that out, and this one here needs to be pushed in. So the next stage is actually to get onto the rear of the panel. So it's actually lift this out of the way. And the way you have to do it is you have to lift it up so that actually comes out here, and the same on the other side. I don't know if you can see that there. You need to make sure that the rails of the regulator actually clear the car door. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the ABS or the airbag sensor off, and then we also need to remove the cable attached to the central locking, which is a pain. So make sure you have a flathead screwdriver for this job. When you attempt to take the central locking connector off, make sure that you do it using that side slot there and pull it down towards you. It makes it a hell of a lot easier. It's highly important that the battery is disconnected before starting this job, because this is the airbag sensor, and this is the connector that goes onto it. To get it off, you push the blue bit up and use a screwdriver to pry the yellow bit away. If you have the battery still connected, there could be a possibility that it could go off, and that's the last thing that you want to happen. So you feed the cables through the hole and back out through here. And that basically pretty much frees those up. And allows you to remove the regulator completely from the car. So that is it free. The other thing that gives hassle in these cars is the central locking and door handle not operating correctly. On this one, there's something definitely not right at the top there. And the cable around this area here usually gets stuck and stops it from moving and operating correctly. In the case here, you can see that this is not right and it needs to be addressed to fix it. This is obviously separate to the reason why I've taken the regulator off. So I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone. But this gives you a bit of an insight into what is actually behind here and what's going on. To remove the central locking mechanism, There's 2 bolts there, which are a specialised spline tool, and then you've got a T20 in there. So just while we're doing this, I'll show you how to take this bit actually out of the car. So this is an M6 bit with a wee spline on it. That's a case of loosening that, followed by that. You can see now that everything is starting to wiggle about here. So don't lose these screws. Alright. So you can see that's come loose now. And then you will see a wee T20 bit, which is in here. And what this actually does, this is the bolt that holds the door lock. So if you remove the plastic cover from your handle, you will see that there's a little slot to do this. Just prise it and pop it off. So you can see there that does not move. But if I put a screw in here, you can probably see that there. This will actually there we go. So this will actually screw out until the point where it stops. And then I believe you need to take this one out as well. And then at this stage, if you pull the door handle out, we lock. You need 2 hands to do this. So at this stage we can actually prise the lock out from the car. That's it removed. Next thing is to press this bit of plastic out, and then this bit here is actually just pressed on, and there's a little nipple in that which locates into the actual central locking mechanism. So that just needs to be pulled apart, and then it should be pretty much a case of pulling out the mechanism. So now I have the central locking mechanism taken out. So you can see here how it's attached to the handle here. And this is the bit that attaches to the inner handle. And these parts can obviously be taken off. So how you do that is you actually rotate this bit round. Maybe easier to push this bit back to take the tension off it. But this is actually slotted, so it can't come out whenever it's installed correctly. So it's keyed here. And then it's the same on this one here. So again, take the tension off the cable and then rotate that round. So what I've literally done is I've removed the cable, and the way I actually did this, if you push this little clip past here and just kind of push that on back. It gives you access to this channel here. This is where the cable runs along. You get a wee bit of light in there. But from the cable itself, I'll try and hold this. You know, there's hardly any movement there at all. So that was the reason why this handle has not been operating correctly. Now I've ordered a new one of these, and it's 13 quid for this cable. But what I will do as a temporary solution is try to unseason it with some WD-40 or plus gas, just so it is actually operational. Yeah, so I'll attempt that and then I'll put the thing back together. This is the cable that attaches to the door handle and then to the central locking. Now there's usually a brown sheath around that actual wire. What had actually happened was it had jammed inside the actual outer of the cable. I'm presuming that gradually over time it has become brittle and then has dislodged itself and then caused it to swell within this channel. So what I've done is I've removed as much as possible and put some white grease on this. Now I have ordered another one. This is just to allow me to use the door handle in the car until the new one arrives. And I'll just go through this process again of taking the regulator off to fit the new one as well. So just a wee bit of insight. Sometimes people think it's actually the central locking mechanism that actually goes. Generally, most of the time, it's actually probably this cable that is gone. There is a check that you can do. You can touch the side, put your hand on the side of the door, and activate the central locking, and see if it actually you feel a wee kick from the door. Yeah, so that's just one way to check. So in preparation for this job, I probably advise to have both of these parts, which is this cable that goes to the outside door handle, which is 13 quid, and that central locking mechanism, which is 40 quid. If you don't need it, you can always take it back, send it back. But if you're going through the heartache of taking everything apart here, you may as well have everything ready there. So what you need to do is actually locate the ball within this channel and then gradually pull that up into the guide, if you can see that there. This bit here, sorry, this bit here needs to locate into this area here. This in here like that. Then attach a little metal retaining clip somehow. That retains it in like that. So you can see that the key thing is to make sure that this pulls back and forward freely, and you can see that is the case. Now, I don't know how long that would last if you were doing that as a temporary repair, so it is advisable to replace it with a new unit. So this will actually end up going up like that. It may be good also to make sure that that is still operational when in that position. just do that to make sure that any kinking it is still operational. So what we want to do is we want to reattach it into here. It's hard doing this with a mobile phone. But I will try my best. So this bit locates in here. And this bit locates in here. So what you want to do is make sure that that is located round, like that. And again, it's always good to check and make sure that the mechanism is operating correctly, because the cable could be stretched. It may not be pulling enough to open the door. Yeah, just belt and braces, because once you assemble this up, you don't want to be taking it apart again. So all assembled up, next thing to do is to get all this plastic stuff clipped back on again correctly. So I think the best way to do that is to locate. Sorry, there's two wee tabs at the top there. So you can actually locate those in, like that, and the same on the bottom. And then what happens is you bring this forward, and that should be at the held in position. So that should be resting against there, so it doesn't allow it to go back or forward. Next thing to do is to put this back up in the correct orientation and then rebuild from there. So I'll get that in position and just go through. It's really the reverse of taking the thing off. So you want to put these in again, and that's with the M6 spline tool. Then what you want to do is put the door lock without crossing the wires back in. So just lift the door handle up and slide it back into position. Next thing is the T20 tool. Back into here. Hope this is a T20. Certainly is. And tighten that all the way back in. That should now mean that is pretty locked in position. Don't think this needed to be removed, because I actually think it just holds the door handle up, the actual handle back frame in. Replace the cap over that. place the cap there. Okay, so there is a possibility that this may need to just be adjusted, depending how the door closes, but it should be okay. That's just in case, again. So now we're at the stage of putting back on the window regulator, or the new one, as the case may be. This is the fun bit. Just before fitting everything back together, just make sure that the door does work. So pull the handle, opens nicely, and then get inside and then pull that and make sure that you can get out. So the way we want to do this is just to feed the loom back through this hole on this side. Don't plug anything or put any of these in yet, because you'll need all the required wire for connecting up to the central locking and the airbag sensor. So I'm just about ready to put this panel back on. So the key is to get these within the top there. Make sure those cables are pushed through. I'm going to connect them up afterwards because I believe it might be the easiest way to do this. But what and pull your cable going through to your door lock. Make sure this cable doesn't get trapped or in the way, so I've thrown it over the edge. And what I'm going to do is just fasten these top two lightly and the bottom one, and that's just so I can get the window in position. So I will be removing the duct tape, but I'll need to watch that the window doesn't come down, and then I'm going to put my hand through here and guide it into these little rubber channels on one side, and then try and do the same for the other side, and hopefully it should work, providing this is aligned. What I've done is actually held the regulator up from the ground just with a couple of bungees. The best idea is actually to connect the airbag sensor and central locking mechanism, and then push the regulator into position. So what I've done is taken the duct tape off the window. Now make sure you hold it, then gradually lower it until you can feel it with your fingers inside here, going into the in between the rubber. Now I've no battery left, so unfortunately I can't show you that, but what you do is you get it until these are aligned again, and then it's good to tighten while you're in this position, but also make sure that the alignment of the frame, and generally there's witness lines along the edge of the window to where the window should actually be aligned, so that's to make sure that it's definitely secured. I need to check this one somehow. I have no torch and I need to get a torch in order to do that, but it's the reverse to the process earlier. You tighten this anti-clockwise to tighten the bolt, and it's the same with this. as well. So anti-clockwise to tighten the bolt, and do not over tighten, as you could crack the window. Now there is rubber in there, but you still need to be careful not to over tighten, otherwise you'll be replacing your window. To make sure that the window is in between the two rubbers, what I've done is I have temporarily tightened it lightly, and then you can see just at the back there that the rubber is actually in between, the window is actually in between the rubber and the two brackets, which tighten. That's at the very, very back there. Again, on this side you can see again that the window is secured in between the back and the rubber. Well, the battery on the phone died earlier, but this is just to prove that the window is operational. Could have maybe gone down a slight wee bit further than the back there. It can be adjusted. And that's it.